I'm Karen Singville. I'm going to teach you how to make my Grandma Maxine's absolute favorite family delicious cake that is almost a 100-year recipe in our family. Now, this is not a low-fat recipe, but I've kind of modified it a little bit so it doesn't have as much sugar for those of you looking for your kids not to have as much sugary desserts. But you're going to see when we're finished the portions that we cut it into, so if you maintain a healthy balance in your life and diet, you can have Grandma Maxine's chocolate cake. So let's get started. First of all, I've got most of the ingredients out, but I will go over them with you as I'm doing this. But I need to make buttermilk. Now, I don't actually carry buttermilk, so because I don't ever have buttermilk, I just poured the sugar in there, which is a little bit over, almost to a full, this is 1 cup, but it's actually full because the recipe calls for exactly 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, but like I said, I modified it a little bit so I don't put as much sugar. Now I'm going to grab the flour. So I do need 2 cups. So I've got right now a little bit up over the cup again, so then I'm just going to pour that in there with the sugar that's already in there. And I'm going to put a little bit more, which is 3/4 of a cup, so that's in my mixer. Okay. Now, those of you who have watched my other stuff know that I don't measure a lot, so I'm going to just get the buttermilk started, because what buttermilk, when you make it on your own, I just got to check this milk, October 27th. Oh, yeah, that's Monday. Okay. You put the milk in here. Now, I use a little bit over 1/2 cup, not much. Homemade buttermilk, all you do is put milk. Now, you can see this is skim milk I'm using. Again, my grandma would have used whole. Lemon juice. I do a couple squirts of that. While you're doing that, you also take the butter, which, I don't know, this is like, I think supposed to be a cup. You take this butter and you put it in your, I'm just going to cut a little bit off this for the frosting. You're going to take this butter about this much. So I think that's about a cup, honestly. You're going to throw it in a saucepan, and then you're going to cover this with water. Not quite. Actually, it's about up to, I don't know if you can see that, but not quite. It's probably about a cup of water. But those of you, like I said, know me, know I don't measure. I've started the oven at a 425. So this little bit, which is about a 1/4 cup, is going to be used later for our frosting, and I'll do that in a separate video. Okay, I'm going to crack my eggs very quickly. And with my eggs, I'm going to put a little bit of vanilla. This is just artificial vanilla flavoring. Again, if you're measuring, it's probably about 2 teaspoons. I'm going to mix my eggs up. My homemade buttermilk is sitting there curdling while I'm heating my water and my butter on the back burner. So far, I've put the sugar and the flour into my mixer. Okay, so this is mixed up good, so that's going to sit aside. Now, I can't remember, like again, my grandma died in 2010, but my dad, who is 75 years old, love you, Dad, says it tastes identical, so even the few modifications I made don't make a bit of difference. That's my oven saying it's preheated to the 425. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit, and I just do, again, salt. I just take a little bit in my hand like this. I don't like a lot of salt, so you can see just pretty much, I would say it's less than a teaspoon. But it's not going to make a difference. If you want to put in, don't put in more than a teaspoon though, because that makes a big difference in the recipe in salt. Baking soda, I can't remember if it's baking soda or baking powder, so I actually put them both. It's a leavening agent, guys. It's not going to make a difference when you're baking. People get so freaked out about baking. Baking is the easiest thing to do. So I take what I would say is about 1.5 teaspoons. Like you can see, I'm just using an old-fashioned teaspoon that we would have tea with. And then I do the same thing with the baking powder. Simple. Throw it in there. This is, like I said, I will put 2 in there because I like it to rise really high and then it settles back down. Then the cocoa. This is a huge, important part. So our butter's heating up. It's melting here with our water. Okay, the cocoa. Now you need a good bit of this cocoa in here. So I would say it's probably really a 1/3 cup that you're putting in. But I do it because I've made the cake so many times. I just do it by look of when I mix it up with the flour, if it looks like it's enough. Okay, and that's it for ingredients so far. So I've just got to get this butter melted down. My homemade buttermilk I can see is curdling nicely. You're going to leave the cocoa out for later for our frosting. We're going to make homemade frosting as well. It's so delicious. Now the rest of this stuff I'm just going to quickly put away while the butter continues to melt down. It's getting there. I didn't want to start it before because I wanted you to see in real time. Like literally you can make this cake honestly in like 20 minutes. It only bakes for 20 minutes and then you can frost it. You can have this cake start to finish, best tasting cake on earth that you've ever had. World famous Grandma Maxine's My Family Recipe. Start to finish in an hour. Out the door, delicious. Okay? And the reason for it today is my husband is actually competing in a Toastmasters competition, a speech contest. Yay for my husband. Okay, we're almost done with that butter melting down. We've got a good curdle on our milk, and you can smell when you actually mix this together. Like I've got all the dry ingredients in there. I usually do mix up the dry ingredients just for a quick second. And you can do this. It's not good to do it by hand because it is a really thin cake, but you can do it with just a regular old-fashioned beater. I just like this KitchenAid. So I'm just going to mix it up to see if I have enough cocoa in there. And actually it looks good, but again, like don't get caught up in it. If you like it a little bit more chocolatey or a little less chocolatey, put a little bit in there, but at least put a 1/3 cup in there of some kind of that cocoa mix, okay? Because you definitely need that. Now, this is boiling, so I don't want to scorch it. Don't scorch it. Just let it get to a boil where the butter all melts, and that's when you know to pull it off. And this is the first part. So this is the only thing that I think you really need to pay attention to, where it's important that we put the butter water mix in first, then we put in the buttermilk, and then we put in the eggs. That's the only thing of everything that I'm doing that I think you should probably do in this same succession that I do, because you'll have a better result with the cake for whatever reason. Okay, so we can see this is boiled up. It's all ready to go. The butter's all melted. I'm going to turn this on. Start pouring it in. Very slowly pour it in. And it's very hot, so if you're working with kids, be careful. So that's in. Now leave this to the side because this is what we're going to make our frosting in, okay? Now I'm going to put in my buttermilk, which is my skim milk and lemon juice. And I'm going to throw in my egg mixture. And I'm just going to let it all melt up. Oh. Yep, oops, sorry. My kitchen. Okay. I'm going to let that mix up for at least 2 good minutes to make sure the consistency is good. A little bit of water because I want it to be, like I said, it's a very thin cake And you're gonna see that when I pour it out. I am gonna spray this with Pam. Now a lot of people wanna use real butter, but again, I'm trying to be a little bit more calorie conscious, but of course, this stuff will kill you, right? It's like you can't win either way. I love it, but it's a necessary evil, let's put it that way. Okay, so my cake's all mixed up. Now I am going to just go on the bottom here because sometimes with these, it doesn't get it really good at the bottom, so I'm just going to check it. And it looks good, looks really good actually. I'm going to take this off. And you can see the consistency. It's super thin, and you're going to see that when I pour it. And that is exactly how it's supposed to be. So you ready? Watch this. Super thin. People are always surprised at how thin this cake is, but that's the way it's supposed to be. Scrape it down good. Get it all in there. Oh my gosh, if you could smell it, it's heaven. Chocolate, delicious heaven, I'm telling you. Grandma, I love you. I love you even before chocolate cake, Grandma. And I'm not a big chocolate fan. So those of you, this is like, honestly, it tastes kind of like a thick, chocolatey brownie. It's so absolutely to die for, I can't even tell you. Hopefully you'll feel the same way. I hope you'll leave me comments and tell me if you like it or if you modified it. I'd love to hear. So anyway, it's all in there. Pretty much gone. I'm not gonna lick it. I'm not gonna be the little pig I usually am and lick the whole thing. Okay, now what I do is I just get some of the bubbles, bring some of the bubbles to the top. I don't know if real bakers do this or not, but I do it. Now I'm going to stick it in this oven, preheated oven, 425. I'm going to set the timer, which I did, for 20 minutes. Now you're going to see that when it comes out, there might be a little bit of cracking on the top, and that's okay, because when I pour over the frosting, it oozes in there. Oh my gosh, it is more delicious heaven. So I'll be back to make the frosting with you in just a minute.